Okay, take two on this one again. This is a coat rack I made. I know a young couple that's getting started in life, and I thought, I would make them some furniture like I did another young couple. And the old man, or the guy, made kind of a snide remark, who the hell needs furniture? And so I'm going to get to keep this one, or I'll give it away at Christmas. Hell, I don't know. But today's kids, they just don't appreciate good furniture. But I was going to go over how I made this. This was a cedar tree. It was about 8 foot tall. And I do have it on a couple of tires, so it does make it look extra tall. But I had trimmed all the limbs off with an electric saw. Then I took a spoke shaver and started taking the bark off, which didn't work too good. And I ended up using a angle grinder with a flap, what they call a flap sander, and that ended up smoothing all it up really good. And in fact, you can see all the remnants that I didn't pick up there on the ground. Them are 1x4 cedar boards that are on the bottom, and you can see on the one that mounts the bottom of the trunk. I put a spacer right there. I thought about mitering that out and making it a flat X, but cedar, I don't know. But anyhow, I was going to use some book brackets on the edges to brace that top piece, and I thought, man, that don't look right, because I want it to look woody and outdoorsy and stuff like that. So I ended up taking these limbs, because I got a huge pile over there of cedar remnants and stuff, and so I took a bunch and chopped and cleaned them up like I did that using the flapper saw. And I did use an electric chainsaw, and that's where you can see some of the gouging. That was a big limb, but I got it nice and clean. And when I put the bottom on it, I took it to an area that was level and flat, and then I went and looked around at this pole to see which way it was leaning. And if you look at it, I do have some shims underneath it, on this side. I got a couple of, it's like 4-inch or 5-inch screws going under here, and I put fender washers underneath it to kind of get this to go straight. And that worked out pretty good. Now, every time you do cedar, drill pilot holes, because it will crack. And these are like 3-inch screws, so they go in from here to here to here. And that was my bracing that I was looking at. I should have coped that a little bit, taking a little bit more out. But this was rotten. I ended up just cutting it like that. This is pine dowel rod, 7/8. And if you look at these, these are 180 degrees from each other, and then you come up, that's 90 degrees from here to here, and then from here it's 45, still, and then it goes up to a 90, 45, 90. So, I mean, that's the angles I'm talking about, the angles and all. So what I was trying to do is make sure that, wherever you put something on here, it's not, you don't have another peg up here and stuff's getting piled up on top. You're trying to distribute the stuff around. And the way I drilled these holes, I think I cut each one of these at 5.5 inches. And I drilled in there. Now I made a jig, and it's this is what my jig looks like. These are 2 pieces of just scrap cedar laying around, and all I did was push them back to get an angle, and honestly, I do not know what that angle is. That's plumber strapping right there, also screwed in at the end, and I beveled that edge down so it fits flush or flat as much as possible. And I would put that, well, wrong, like that on there, and then I'd take a forstner bit and run down. Let me put it up here like this with my porter cable drill. Now you can see that don't go in there very far, but what I would do is start it and go as deep as I could, and then I'd pull that out and stay in the same direction, sometimes putting this beside it, you know, and I'd go in the same direction like that, and so I got a pretty straight hole. And these pegs, if you look at them, they're kind of rounded on the end. All I did was my bench grinder, I just take that edge down like that, and then I put them in this hole and tap them in. And underneath right here is an easier one. I'd go in an angle with a drill, and I'd put a screw in, so these things are super solid like that. Let me get rid of my drill bit. And so I think this thing is like 6'2" or 4, and I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and this is high enough for the kitties, you know. I used I had some leftover stain in there, a quart of it, and I just slapped it on that to kind of darken it up. I really didn't want to darken it up that much. It had some polyurethane in with it, and but it didn't give enough shine, so I ended up getting some clear polyurethane and putting on top of that. It's got that rustic look that I really like, and it worked out pretty nice. This was fairly simple to build. The hardest part was getting the, I mean, this is all nice and smooth now. That flapper valve, not the flapper valve, the flapper sander disc that you put on an angle grinder was the best tool, because I'd get these areas where a limb was at, and there'd be something sharp right there, and I'd just take it right over. I can smooth that all out. Like this area where I messed up with my electric chainsaw, I smoothed it all out to where I rub my hand right here, I'm not getting any splinters or stuff like that. And it worked out pretty good. I'm going to stick this in my storage, and you know, Christmas is like 6 months away, so I'll figure out something between here and there, who to give it to, who would like it. But anyhow, this is something easy you guys could do, you know. I hope that this will inspire you guys to go do something like that. Anyhow, we have a lot of cedar mills around, and so we can get cedar fairly cheap, and I enjoy working with it. I usually do not cover cedar because I just like the smell of it. Anyhow, you guys go out there and make you something like this. Gives you good ideas, and especially that idea about offsetting the pegs. Anyhow, you guys have a good one, and catch you on the next video.